Thanks very much, JB. I'm Fred Abbal. I'm in charge of the service organization, and I'm going to give the floor to JB first. He's going to tell us about what are the mega trends he's foreseeing in the world of services. I will tell you about how we as Schneider are doing and moving, and how other actually customers are running the show regarding this big transformation in services. And then, of course, we'll have some space for question and answers. We have a very special guest, Conrad, that I will give the floor at the last stage. He's coming from Philips. He's in charge of the service transformation. We'll try to have this kind of exchange and debate, okay? So let's start, by the way, with you, JB. Great. Give you the floor and the clicker.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good. Welcome, everyone. As Fred mentioned, my name is JB Wood. I'm the CEO of an industry trade association for 500 large global companies. And we're primarily a research organization studying business trends in the technology and industrial sector. And I want to share with you today some data, but even more importantly, a story about how we see in this data a fundamental rethink of the relationships between technology providers and customers, why this trend is happening, and what it might mean for the business relationship between you and Schneider and other suppliers going forward. One of the things we do is we have an index of 50 of the largest technology companies in the world, and let's see if we go back here, we track the quarterly revenue of these 50 companies, and we add them together to create an index. So as you can see, this is the last 10 years of revenue for 50 of the largest technology providers in the world. You can see in the fourth quarter of 2008, those 50 companies reported about $250 billion in combined revenue. Next, you see the recession, the drop-off in revenue, and you see these companies build back up to about the same level by the fourth quarter of 2011. Look at what's happened to the combined revenue of these 50 huge companies over the last 7 or 8 years. It has been trending down. But even more importantly, when you look underneath those revenues and you find out what's growing, it's not the product business. The product revenues of these 50 companies are shrinking dramatically, but the green line are their services revenues. And their services revenues are growing at a very, very rapid rate. This was completely untrue as a trend until about 2008 after the recession. And what's driving this? Well, a lot of things have happened in the last 10 years that have enabled new kinds of relationships to exist between suppliers and customers. For many years, every customer was willing to take ownership of a complex technology asset and operate that asset. And so suppliers sold them. Customers paid out of a CapEx budget to own these assets, and they primarily operated the assets day to day. If there was a problem with the asset did not work, then they called for help. But largely, they took responsibility for owning and operating and producing a business outcome from the asset. Over the last 10 years, things have begun to change. Number one, software is eating hardware, right? More of the features exist in the software than on the hardware itself. Secondly, companies have learned that software is better developed and delivered through the cloud, right? And once you put software in the cloud, you can also charge for it as a service, right? You all buy SaaS products, right? So you're familiar with buying software subscriptions. Sometimes those subscriptions are monthly subscriptions, but in other cases, they're actually monetized based on consumption, right? If you use the product, you pay for the product. If you don't use it, you don't pay. So what's happening is more and more and more technology solutions are moving to service-based subscriptions. And internally, because so much capability resides in this software that business buyers, not just technical buyers, but marketing and other departments are weighing in more and more and more on the selection of these products. So we have gone in a very short period of time from all of the relationships being based on selling a product, conveying the ownership of the asset from the supplier to the customer, and the customer doing the operation. But now we're seeing a real revolution in services. Again, it used to be that services were things that you needed to buy to have the product become operational and maintain operations, right? So commissioning and maintenance, these kinds of services. More recently, we're seeing companies developing real-time remote management capability of the assets so that they can help manage the assets day to day. We are going to see very shortly a period where customers will have the option from some suppliers to consume everything as a service. Imagine consuming Schneider as a service, right? Where the technology is one embedded piece of the service. Those journeys of transforming from product-centric businesses to service-centric businesses has been happening across multiple industries. We're seeing it not just in software and in IT, we're seeing it in aviation where airlines can buy jet engines by the air hour, right? Not own the asset, but pay for it by the air hour. Philips and other medical device companies have begun to develop offers where healthcare providers can consume technology and pay for it as they sell and provide the service to the patient. And we see many, many industrial companies moving in this model. In the technology industry, these subscription and service-based business models are growing 8 times faster than the industry overall. Why? One, it provides tremendous flexibility to the customer. They have the choice of buying from a CapEx budget or from an OpEx budget. By buying out of OpEx, they are able to tie their costs to their revenue, right? As their revenue goes up, their cost goes up, but as their revenue goes down, their costs come down. So you have flexibility in the way you want to consume it. And in addition to that, because these are connected devices, often the suppliers are able to provide advanced service capability that the customers could not provide on their own. Think about benchmarking as an example. How is your use of the asset comparing to other similar companies to you and their use of a similar asset, right? Whereas the supplier can see all of these and provide insight about the level of utilization that you're getting, the level of value you're getting, and then provide services to help you get additional value out of the existing assets. So these relationships we're seeing, as I said, grow 8 times faster than traditional product and service relationships. So customers clearly love them, but it is also forcing everyone to have to rethink this relationship between themselves as a customer and their suppliers, and between themselves and their end customers. Again, this growth of services is happening all over the economy. And again, this industry is absolutely key. You know, with Schneider and other companies, the capabilities of the products, as they have become more software enabled, have gotten richer and deeper. And also, the suppliers are able to not only provide you a real-time on-premise version of the product, they're also capable of building a digital twin, right? A big data-driven twin of the on-premise asset. They can use that digital twin to model the performance and the situation of the asset that is on the customer's premise. What they do with that model is evolving. The first thing was to simply make services, traditional services like maintenance, better. Make it more predictive, make it more preventative. to optimize the uptime of the asset. But that is only the first phase. The second phase, as I mentioned, is to be able to help customers extract more value out of the assets they already own by providing insights that one customer by themselves may not be able to realize, right? So, but by comparing this device or this piece of software to other companies using the same device and the same software in a predictive model, suppliers are able to make recommendations about how you can increase the output and the business value and therefore get a higher return on existing assets going forward. Some companies have even begun to move toward pricing models where some or all of the financial relationship is based on business outcomes like utilization or like revenue or cost reduction. We see many companies working very hard to understand the linkage between their solutions and the financial results that customers get and trying to provide a greater role in driving those outcomes. Some are really going to get to the point where they will assume all the risk, where they will say, we will provide some of the assets and the services and you will pay for what you consume, or you will pay for the value. Now, that will take time and each industry is moving at a different pace, but this is clearly the general direction as the world moves from a product-led economy to a service-led economy. When you think of the portfolio, not only will they be able to monitor the devices, operate the devices, optimize the devices, help transform your company into a next generation capable company, and ultimately be the ones that are responsible for the outcomes. We have seen many specific examples of this across many different types of customers, of suppliers. And we know for a fact that this trend will continue. Again, what we see is this scenario where companies are moving left to right across this value chain and getting to a point where they are maintaining a whole new level of day-to-day interaction and responsibility with customers for translating this asset into something of value. The other thing we're seeing is that this is impacting the partner community that suppliers sell through, right? Very often, partners provided a lot of value around things like commissioning and integration, but more and more, we see the partners moving their services portfolio to more operational value. Again, making sure that assets become more valuable over time, not less valuable over time. And we're also seeing that more and more partners are becoming hyper-focused on individual vertical industries so that they can understand more about this relationship between the functionality of the product and the business result that the customer is getting. Very different how you translate an asset into business value in different vertical industries. And many of these partners are specializing in these vertical industries, again, to try to establish this clear link between the asset and the business outcome. We see these partners also adopting a very robust services portfolio that moves well beyond commissioning and maintenance. What enables all of this is the fact that Schneider Solutions and other solutions are able to provide this usage data. The usage data is enabling a broad portfolio of new services and allowing companies like Schneider to take on more of the responsibility for the outcome, which reduces the risk to the customer. I think over the next 5 years, we will really see a completely new way of thinking about the suppliers you choose to do business with. Traditionally, companies would issue an RFP, they would choose the supplier then had to commission the solution and get it to go live on budget, and then be around to meet the service requirements if there was a problem with the asset. I think you will find in just a few years that there is sort of new behavior from suppliers. One, these suppliers will understand very deeply how their assets impact the financial performance of customers in different industries, and they will be scanning the horizon to find innovative uses of the assets in order to be able to provide better and better business outcomes. They will then be able to capture these unique approaches and make it available to a broader group of customers so that more customers can enjoy the value. So they will be very, very focused on coming with a business outcome story rather than a story about product features and functions. Secondly, they will focus very much on getting you to value as fast as possible. Assets that are sitting there and not in production don't do anybody any good. They don't do you as a customer any good. They don't do the supplier any good. A lot of that is related to the complexity of the solutions. Suppliers are working to take some of the complexity out so that they can optimize that time to value and get you into production faster. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, suppliers will be able to remain connected to you and the assets on a 24-hour a day, 365-day a year basis, and they will do more than just maintain asset availability. They will study utilization, they will give you advice on how to improve and optimize the value of the asset, and be in the business of being very proactive about delivering business outcomes to you. So we really believe this growth in services is going to simply accelerate it, accelerate over the next 10 years, that suppliers will have very robust and exciting service portfolios with dramatic software-enabled capabilities included in those services, and they will take some of the risk out of the ownership models because they will be able to connect directly to the specific business outcomes that matter to you. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Fred to talk a little bit about where Schneider is on this journey.
Thanks, JB.
Okay.
Thank you very much. So, I mean, well, you understand that the transformation is big. Transformation is big. Actually, what JB is not telling us also is that there are many, many companies that have been moving into this direction. Very few of them have succeeded to move into this service play, okay? So just, well, you know maybe that we have been creating this new group of a new organization in Schneider starting the 1st of Jan this year. And this group, this organization is why? Why did we create it that? That's very simple. I mean, everything is moving into more customer, let's say, pain point and customer practices. We want more efficiency, more cyber security, more sustainability. You understand that things are really, really changing in the customer landscape. The second point is that those technologies to solve those kind of pain points are available. We have more and more sensors, we have more and more software-driven analytics, we have more and more technology everywhere, and you understand that this speed of those technology is moving extremely fast. By the way, the cost of those technology are going down very, very fast also, which is, again, an enabler. Well, there is a third point, which is the good news, meaning that Schneider, with his expertise, with his history, with his liability, is having a lot of good position. We speak about EcoStruxure. You were most probably in the room this morning. We are having a digital platform which is today available. We are speaking about a deep domain expertise since many, many years. Well, you understand that this is a very strong advantage and a very strong lever that the group is having. So now, if we look at what we see in terms of business evolution and in terms of services, we see two kinds of services, and it's going to connect very strongly. And again, this is why we have asked JB. Thank you again, JB, for joining us with this very long trip. But I think that this is matching really very well with what JB was speaking about, which is the witnessing, in fact, what the whole market is moving through. So we see in Schneider two big parts. One is the field services. Field services is about our our assets. Okay, this asset connected thing. It's an asset connected added value where we can sell a lot of, let's say, offers, service offer like audit, end of life training, to end with a service life cycle added value to our customers. This is mainly field services, our asset, globally the asset that are served by our teams. Okay, that's a big part of it. But then we discover, or not discover, but we capitalize, and we want to develop the second part of it, which is the digital services, digital enabled services. And here, look at this part. This is more about customer outcomes, more than reliability, which is a more generic part of it. So here we are solving an equation that our customers have because they want to be more sustainable. They want to be more safe. They want to be more effective. You understand? Of course, we were, by the way, with one customer this morning telling us, well, if I don't put my paper, he's a paper manufacturer, on the shelf at the right time, I'm losing the business. Okay, but so availability is one of the big topic also. So these two things, which is customer outcome, just related to a JB presentation, is extremely important to understand. One, field service based on asset. Second is digital, everything which is connected or not connected to asset. Got it? So now, if I want to enter in more detail, that's the part of the field services. The field services part, which is the first part of the service play. Well, Schneider, we have been number one, well, let's say, leading the world in terms of business in low voltage, in medium voltage, in secure power. We have been number one. But in terms of critical size, we have been the first ones selling across the world. But we are also managing a lot of the critical application. In oil and gas, you know that if we have an off time in oil and gas, that's costing 36 million in average, okay, in average to an oil and gas site. We have several, kind of example in MMM, in food and bev, in the preventive maintenance in the building. Of course, you know about the grid and hurricane. We have more and more issue with the weather, and all of this is creating a lot of issues. So we are number one. We have a massive install base, and the critical application we are serving are there. So we are serving the critical assets and the critical application, then the critical customer needs on the planet. You understand the rationale? Well, the second point is the fact that we are also covering the planet. So you see the dots are where we are. We have 72 rapid deployment center. We have a lot of field services engineer. All together, all those figures are representing 15,000 people on the field, covering mainly 100 countries. So that's the coverage. Again, number one, historically. Second, covering the critical application of our customers, covering the whole planet. That's the story about the services in Schneider. Well, actually, there is one thing which is here that we need to understand why we want to develop services. We are, for the moment, in services, which is, again, the newly created business, 13%, 1/3 of the total turnover of the group. I mean, JB, you know very well this world. We are very low, meaning we can do much better. That's the average of our let's say competitors or industrial players. They are more in the range of 20-25%, and some of them, by the way, like the lift operators, like Otis, Schindler, and not Schneider. You understand this one? They are making like 60-70% of their turnover in services, and by the way, close to 100% of their profitability in the service play. You understand why we are entering in that one. Of course, we have a lot of opportunities on that one, but we have also a lot of push from the financial community telling us, why guys, you have a lot of opportunities. And by the way, you know what? Our customers, our partners are also having a lot of opportunities. On that field, which is this service play, with the field service play, Our will is to go direct with the very critical sites, and also to go with partners in the less critical site, or in the in the site that we are not covering, because they are better covering the site that we are covering. So that's this dual go-to-market that we want to develop, and that is going to be we have launched last week a new badge which is called the Eco Expert badge for the power services. If you are interested in, you can contact the people from the service booth there, and they will explain you how to get there. It's really interesting that we are then, by this one, covering much more of the install base. Well, and here you need to have maybe your headphone, because there will be a video coming on. This is one video on one customer we have is BASF. That's a company that we have developed one of the asset performance management, which is what we consider the digital service. I'll let you hear and see this video.
A lot of folks don't realize chemistry goes into everything that they do. It's just part of our life. BASF is the largest chemical company in the world. We're involved in a number of products that go into wearable devices, construction materials, mass transportation, footwear. My name is Lee Perry. I'm an electrical design engineer for BASF. The Beaumont site is part of our agricultural business. Schneider provided the electrical infrastructure for this unit expansion and an opportunity to test out EcoStruxure Asset Advisor. We were surprised by some of the things that we found out. Asset Advisor is helping us to prevent catastrophic failures. EcoStruxure connects assets, so we can look at the health of not just our electrical distribution equipment, but also the motor control centers and the motors that actually drive the process. If there's an issue, we get an email from the Service Bureau saying, we're noticing this. I could log into it remotely and look at the same information and help troubleshoot that issue. It's a collaboration between us and Schneider, where we have that ability to get the data that we need to make the right decisions at the right time. There's a global initiative within BASF, which is digitalization. Being able to have that data is the key, and in the end, data is value. Chemistry goes into everyday products, and digital transformation is streamlining our process so that we can meet our customer needs.
On the second part, you understand, first part was about the field services. Second part is about the digital enabled services. On the digital enabled services, just have a look on this one. It's a bit complex, but it's at the end quite easy to understand. Those are the customer needs, okay, which is by the way, two big family, total cost of ownership and overall efficiency. Those are the intensity that we consider those market segments have. Okay, so for example, you have this performance, okay, in electrosensitive and in electro-intensive, let's say, customers. They are high level of demand regarding those topics. Then we are associating the practices like asset performance management. The previous video that you saw from BASF was typically an electro-intensive, by the way, electro-sensitive, also petrochemical industry, where asset performance management is very interesting. We had discussion this morning with a very good customer from the US saying exactly the same thing. Asset performance management is really a key topic, and this is one of the practice. Then you have other practice, which is cybersecurity. Sometimes we have process and power quality that can, for example, as we are moving more and more in the LED world, in the electronic world, the quality of the network is becoming more and more difficult, and when you have critical process like in electronics, you need to have this power quality solution that we have actually. So that's the way we are looking at it, which is, you understand the EcoStruxure topic, which is moving from the product and then from the last part, which are the advisor and the software. So what we are doing since now many years, we are connecting our product to our analytics, and this is to create and generate a lot of potential opportunities to solve the problem and to solve the customer pain point that we call the customer practices. So here, if I go on that one, and this is something that you need to also get in mind, on that part of it, we are a bit leading the world also. Not a bit, we are leading the world of this activity that we call active energy management, with the efficiency part, the sustainability part, and the supply. You remember maybe this morning when we were saying, Jean-Pascal was speaking about the fact that we want to go more and more with a zero carbon emission. We want to we want to be more and more sustainable. We have in our group, in this digital group, one of the world leader of that part. We have discussed this one with some of you already. Just to give you some figures, it's 80 gigawatt, which is under management. It's not that we are purchasing 80 gigawatt. We help our customer to better purchase the 80 gigawatt. 80 gigawatt, just to give you an idea, that's the power generation of France for 1 year. Just to give you an idea, it's a bit of a lot of energy which is under management. 120 countries, close to 2,000 people. Again, the three main customer pain point, the three main practices: sustainability, efficiency, energy efficiency, and supply on that one. I am going to give you a second, so go to channel 1 if you don't mind, a second video, except if we are ready on the technique part. Yes, we are ready on technique part? Okay. So let's go for the second video, which is the Whirlpool testimony from the second customer that enter into this journey of sustainability, of active energy management journey.
My daughters are Girl Scouts, and they always talk about take away memories, leave no footprints. And I think, how do we create a sustainable planet and create sustainable lifestyles for people? My name is Ron Vogelweed. I'm the Global Sustainability Director for Whirlpool Corporation.
Whirlpool Corporation is the #1 major appliance manufacturer in the world, selling appliances in nearly every country.
Sustainability should be a core part of every business. Whirlpool's worked with Schneider Electric for over 5 years. We can't be everywhere. We're a small sustainability team. We're given any kind of day and night support, and this is where they've helped us get more robust and rigorous. They really took the time to help us understand, what are we trying to achieve? Are we asking the right questions? Well, having a global strategy puts in place the purpose, which then motivates people to achieve results. And that's where the tools from Schneider, like Resource Advisor, helps us track and provide those analytics that you can start to understand, how do you address the problem, how do you apply the best practices, and you can start to drive value streams.
Just by understanding that we had more than 20 million pounds of corrugated cardboard waste in our Ohio plants alone, we anticipate saving more than $1 million over the next 3 years. We're also expanding the use of wind energy at our factories and expect to be one of the largest Fortune 500 consumers of on-site wind generation in the United States.
Resource Advisor is the ability to show the real cost and the real savings by going to renewables and helping us sell the business case to drive renewables in our manufacturing plants. With Schneider Electric, we're shifting this idea of partnership to collaboration and really trying to achieve mutual goals.
The passion around sustainability is being able to see the impact and be able to go home and tell your children what you do.
Okay, so that's one of the example from customer point of view. I mean, that's Whirlpool. We have close to 500 customers that are moving into this journey of moving their energy equation from non-sustainable to sustainable. And by the way, the people that are contacting us and are connecting with us are more global players, are players with a lot of sites because they have a lot of complexity then to handle. Those are, actually your peers, that are realizing a lot of benefit out of this journey. We're speaking of millions of euros of savings every year, but also we are speaking of a lot of tons of CO2 that we are saving from this global equation that we are in. So, well, long story short, we are a customer-centric organization. We are here to really connect the asset, or connect the asset, or connect actually the company equation to move into this journey of the sustainability and reliability with all those customer practices from the field services point of view and from the digital point of view. I mean, that's where we are today in terms of development. It's a group, again, that I'm telling you, it's 15,000 people. It's a newly created organization because we consider in Schneider that that is going to become, by the way, one of the key level of growth, and it's actually already the case this year and the year before. And it's, frankly speaking, moving and surfing this massive wave that we have described this morning. So please, before you leave and before the question answer, maybe I would like to call on stage one of our guests. Please, Conrad, if you may come on. Can we have a mic, please? No, we cannot. Okay, fine. No problem. Yes. Okay. Yes, come with me on stage. Okay. So Conrad is heading the Philips service transformation. Can you tell us few words on what are your? I mean, does it sound the same? You are living in Philips, or not?
We're living this.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
We're living the same. And we're not both grey yet. It'll come quickly because these transformations of classical companies that made products and pushed them out to customers, to a service company, is a structural transformation. And I think there's one word that is heavily abused in these transformations, and it's a question to you, JB. We talk about customers and the change in customers, but the service customers versus the product customers are very different animals, sit in different parts of the organization, and it's not the same customer that buys services versus the customer that buys products. What have you learned as TSIA on these customers?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think the idea that you can separate the product and the service from the business outcome of the customer is becoming an old idea. It is the combination of the assets and the services that provide the business results. You're going to be unable to separate the two very, very quickly. And so everyone, and this is true both from the way the customer thinks about interacting with the supplier and the way the supplier organizes to deliver value to the customer, both of those things must change. Because as I said before, you can't separate the hardware from the software from the services in the value equation of the customer. And that is, as you said, hard. It's hard for a company to reorganize and think differently about how it creates value for customers. And it's also hard for some customers to turn over more responsibility for value creation to their suppliers, but yet their suppliers have more expertise in the particular area of focus that they provide to the customer. So it is a big change in thinking and behavior for both the customer and the supplier.
Thank you very much. Thank you for...
There's one thing I want to add to it, Frederic.
Yes, please.
I think we've seen a lot of facts. Philips wants to touch the lives of 3 billion people.
Yeah.
For Schneider, life is on. Let's not forget that is what our customers want. Yep. That's what we got to deliver.
Absolutely,
right.
sir.
Thanks,
Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you.
And by the way, thank you very much for your... Thank you very much for your witnessing. I mean, we are a bit late because we started a bit late, but frankly speaking, you know what? We have a lot of opportunities with customer, with our partners. There are a lot of things moving on. We are just here to show you the way. We are here to help you to run that way. I think that, frankly speaking, at Schneider, we are exactly positioned at the right place at the right moment. But of course, everything is going to happen with you. So without you, nothing is going to happen. Thank you very much. Thank you, JB. Thank you, Conrad. And thank you for attending this session. Thank you. Bye. Thank you.